Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Selection Nationale with your co-host, Derek Etienne.
And I'm Daryl Etienne, and we will be talking to you about the U20 Haitian national team. I'm excited about this group.
Hey, this group just finished a great performance against St. Kitts with a 4-0 win, and we're going to do the recap right after this. Welcome back. This U20 national team came out the gates really swinging hard with 4-0 win over St. Kitts and a 4-1 win over Cayman Islands. So in the first two games, 8 goals for, 1 goal against. What are your initial thoughts before we get into the recap about this U20 team?
Yeah, if you go by just the stats alone from the game, it looks like we're very strong defensively. We're not giving up goals. We have not been tested. Haiti seems like they haven't really been tested. Is that due to the quality of the other team, or is that how good our midfield and defense is? What was your take?
That's something that when we play against those other teams like Puerto Rico, like maybe if we advance to the next round, the USAs, the Mexicos, Canada, we'll really see what we have to offer. But I think that we've been well organized against this group. So whether the opponent hasn't been as strong in Cayman Islands and St. Kitts, we still have been organized that it's difficult for any team to try to just come and play us off the park. So now whether we really been tested, of course, that remains to be seen down the road with higher level games. But I think we've been very organized, very strong, very disciplined, and it's been difficult for these teams to break us down.
When you go into tournaments like this, you have to establish yourself early. And I think that's what Haiti has done. They came in as a team to watch, but they're definitely showing that they're forced to reckon with, that they can score goals. And a lot of players are scoring goals as well. It's not, we have obviously Brian Destin has just been continued to be on fire. He's had 3 the first game, coming in the 30 minutes left in the first game, the second half. He comes in and does a hat trick. And then the next game he scores in the first 5 minutes as he started, and then got the assist in the 8th minute for the next game. So he's definitely on fire right now.
You pointed it out in the last episode that you thought that his performance coming off the bench against St. Kitts, that he deserved, against Cayman Islands, that he deserved the start.
Right.
And Coach Angelo did give him the start, and he came right out the gates, picked up right where he left off with a goal and assist. So it's a great performance. Again, setting the tone early, letting everyone in the group know that Haiti is on fire, and they're really coming after the final stages in the CONCACAF Championship.
Yeah, how do you think that Coach Angelo's been doing in managing, as far as the lineups are concerned, and just managing the game?
Well, so far, I feel like he has been managing the game well, especially when it relates to players that have been playing a lot of minutes. So for him to go with the same starting lineup in both games, except for 1 or 2 changes in the attacking positions, he did a good job by the engines in the midfield of Belmar Joseph and Daryl Etienne, by subbing them out in the 70th minute or so, 60th, 70th minute, somewhere in between there. But give them enough time. The game was already won, so now you sub off your starting midfielders so that you can get other players minutes and at the same time rest those players. So I thought he did a good job of trying to find the right connections, for trying to find the right chemistry, and then managing the players as far as their workloads is concerned.
Now, do you feel that this is the best 11 from the last game or the previous game? You see he's obviously moving players around, but from this last game against St. Kitts, do you feel that he's able to put the best 11 in? Do you feel that he's strategic and he maybe has, maybe the best 7, and then maybe bring players in off the bench that are better? How do you think his mentality, and this is all assumption.
It's an assumption. I really don't know, because we haven't spoken to him. I think he's got a core group of maybe 6 or 7 players, maybe even 8 players that he's comfortable with, and then there are others that can be shifted. It's not to say that if he got 8 players, that the other 3 are not as strong. I just think that he's got another a group of 3 plus those of reserves on the bench that he can rotate and don't drop the level.
Yeah.
So I think that he's got. I think maybe his best, between 6 or 8 players are his top ones that he's going to go with every game.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are others that he can shift. And again, the level doesn't drop.
Okay, well, let's look at that lineup for this last game we played against St. Kitts. They started off the back 4. Obviously, Jonah Mednard was in the goal. Again, wasn't really tested too much.
Yeah.
Is that attributed to the lack of quality from the attack, or was that defense strong enough? I think that they were pretty strong.
I think it's both. I think it's a bit of both. I mean, again, because of the organization of the midfield and the back line, St. Kitts was not able to really create anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tribute to the team.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the quality of St. Kitts' attacking line just really wasn't as strong. So I think it's a bit of both. And so Mednard was not really tested in goal. I'd still like to see more, if we're not going to be tested, we're going to have the ball, maybe give him some love, play the ball back and let him play, distribute with his feet a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, got the job done. This time kept a clean sheet, and that was what's important.
Good. 2 center backs are still the same. You got Jalen Vilsaint and you got Francois Mendel as the 2 center backs, both playing pro in Portugal. And now they've been holding it down here. This, again, has not really fully been tested with 9s making runs in behind, hold up play. And, so it still remains to be seen where they are individually with 1v1 defending. But in terms of building out of the back and playing, they seem pretty good and comfortable on the ball. What would you say?
I agree. Building out of the back, again, against the St. Kitts team and the Cayman Islands team, we really didn't have any trouble just playing the ball, distributing and getting the ball forward. But yes, defensively, I'd like to see if they're playing against a big, strong number 9, if they're playing against a pacey, fast, speedy forward or winger, how would they handle if they're even in our, we'll get to the midfield, but how would they handle against mobile players is something that we're going to see in the next round. But again, solid performances. I like the way that Francois joins in the attack. He does, push the envelope a little bit by on the dribble. And hopefully he seems like he wants a goal, and maybe he'll get one against Puerto Rico.
Yeah. And then, obviously, because we see that Jalen Vilsaint, he's got a goal on the last game.
Exactly.
Ball was crossed in, and he literally just towered over. It was just uncontested. It was just too easy for him.
Yeah.
But he did what he was supposed to do, headed it down, got the goal, and solidified that was the 3rd goal in this 4-0 victory. So it was good to see, again, defenders get forward and actually get on the boards and look to just be dangerous, So I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
And like you said, Mandel seems like he's a little itchy to see if he can get up there as well. So it was good for those 2. On the left back, we had a new player came in. We had Jordy Montclair, who started this particular game. Wasn't in the first game. I don't think he even played in the first game against Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm. So it was a little strange to see that he just completely did a change with this player. But how do you think he did, in that first half?
I mean, I thought he did well. And again, it's really, really hard to really assess, because I'd like to see him get forward and serving balls in, because again, I like an aggressive formation with the back line, the outside backs joining in the attack. Mm-hmm. So same thing for Ricanel Sherry. I mean, he's playing on the right side.
Yeah.
And there were times when he was getting forward, but I'd like to see both of our outside backs joining in the attack, serving balls in, and seeing moments that when we're switching the point of attack, can they make runs in behind?
Yeah. Ricanel, he's been, in my opinion, I think he solidified the right back spot. Mm-hmm. Jordy did well. I'm not sure if he's solidified and has taken it yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what coach is going to do for the next particular game, and see will he actually let him have the 3rd start, or will he go with someone else at that time? Let's look at the midfield. What would you say?
Midfield, I mean, I think, again, this is where I think most of the organization comes from, with your son is playing in the midfield. And I know you don't want to do too much talking about him, but I think he's doing a solid job as the number 6, the holding mid that really holds things down and just shifts and organizes. So defensively, You know, I think that you need a disciplined holding mid that's not roaming too much. You know, and Darryl provides that balance. And then Belmar brings the other energy that he could come in and he can help try to break up plays as well. So I like defensively of how sometimes we can have 2 sixes with Darryl and Belmont. And then, but if there's times when Belmar is going forward, Darryl would be disciplined to hold it down. So I like this midfield. I like the fact that, again, it's disciplined players that are comfortable on the ball. So defensively, they get the job done, which is the most important part. But offensively, they can actually keep the ball. So playing the ball into Darryl to see him spray it and switch fields, and then even playing the ball into Belmar and getting him to create and go forward. So I like those two playing centrally. I don't know if they've again been really tested by mobile midfielders. You know, so I'd like to see how Darryl and Belmar handle, you know, those a strong 10 and an 8 that's very, you know, mobile.
The 9.
Yeah, they're running all over the place. They're buzzing all over the place. You know, I like to see how they handle that. Do they stick players 1v1 or do they pass players on? So I want to see how they're challenged in that fashion. So.
What I like that, and I'm not going to say too much about what Darryl's done, but when Francois Mendel will go forward, you know, I love the way that he's able to just slide in and just keep that balance, you know, which is what a 6 should do.
Exactly.
You know, some I've seen in different teams in different areas where the player will go forward and the midfilders will just say,
that's not my job. It's not my job. And so they won't track back. They won't cover. And then now the coach is yelling at the the center back, hey, you're out of position, whatever. So it's good to see that he just naturally able, you know, he's a center back as well. He's played center back. So having that defensive mentality, able to cover and stuff has been really good on both sides. And even when Jalen has gone forward, Darryl was sliding. He has no issue with that. I think the balance has been really good from the back line, receiving and distributing to the front line. I would like to see the midfield line a little bit higher still. I think sometimes Darryl still sits a little too deep, you know, but again, this is why I think it's when I'm watching the game, I'm watching and seeing how when Francois will go, Darryl feels like he has to drop in, which is great. But every now and then, I think Francois is going because Darryl's too deep. You know what I mean? So maybe that Darryl just needs to join the attack a little bit more and be, you know, get a little threat, get shots on goal and stuff like that. All midfielders have to be able to take risks at some point and get shots on goal and create chances. And so that's what I would like to see from this midfield. And Belmar is doing a decent job as well. I'd still like to see a little bit more of that in that final pass, the final play. You know, he's doing good. Work rate is there. You know, he's going box to box, you know, and providing options to receive the ball. But it's that final play. And I think and again, part of it is this is only their second game within the competition, fourth game over the last week in terms of the friendly matches. So you would think that by the time we get to the summer, you know, we should be buzzing on all cylinders, but I'd like to see more of that final play in the final third.
Now we had Adelson Belazaire. He was in the 10. New player. He wasn't in the 10. He didn't start the first game, you know, so I thought he did well. You know, he did well defensively. You know, his pressure and a lot of passes were broken up by him, Belmar, Darryl Jr. They were able to stop the team from playing through. And then we got the ball in attacking third and began to create. So it was good to see him buzzing around. Again, I still feel that the 10 has to create more. I'm not convinced yet of who the true 10 will be. I like Adelson. I thought he did the best so far out of the 2 games in the 10, but it's very, you know, it's that part is still a little up in the air as far as I'm concerned. And who's going to solidify that and be the 10 for this team.
I agree with that. That 10 has to be that playmaker that can create for himself or create for his teammates, you know, that has the vision to be able to see that pass, to play, when to play in behind. If a player's running offside, they have that IQ to know, you know what, I'll keep it and dribble a little bit. So we need that dynamic number 10. And Adelson has got the potential. But is he the one? I don't know. We'll see how it goes against Puerto Rico. But let's look at the top, up front, you know, with Brian Destin, Isai, and with LeBrun. And I mean, these 3 have been a handful over the last 2 games. These 3 have caused problems. Destin has been on the score sheet for both games. I think he solidified himself that he needs to be in the starting 11.
Right.
Again, we didn't know what happened, why he didn't start the first game. I don't know. Was it an internal decision? Was it because of the performances in the friendly matches? But he's proven himself in the last 2 games. Brian Destin is a guy that's going to be able to get some goals. He's hungry and he wants it. Isai and LeBron, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I love the way Isai plays as the 9. You know, he plays similar to you. The hold up play 9 is coming back. You know, the player that can be dynamic, hold the ball, lay it off and spin. At the same time, he has very good feet, 1v1.
Yeah.
So when he makes diagonal runs and he, switches with Destin, the goal with Destin, that was a switch. Destin comes across, long ball in. Destin is the new 9 at that particular moment.
Right.
So I love the mobility and the movement that the front 3 are doing together, particularly Brian and Isai. But I would like to see more combination plays with the 9. Isai he's good on the ball. We need to feed him more, give him more touches. But the one pass he got in the 8th minute, he got it from Brian Destin, and he just turn hit. It was a surprise, and the goalie wasn't expecting it, smacked it into the net. So we need more to feed him more, and I think we're going to see a lot more goals coming from him.
Yeah, and I think just from the front 3, as you mentioned, just looking for each other. The front 3 with the 10, if we can see more combination play from those front 4 players, I think it would be a headache for Puerto Rico to try to handle them.
Yeah, LeBron, I think he did very well. Left-footed player playing on the right side. So it's a little predictable. Majority of the time he cuts in.
Because he's cutting in.
He's going to cut in. So eventually, once we're being scouted by the other teams going into the next round, maybe Puerto Rico, they're going to be able to deal with that. So he has to be a little bit more dynamic and disguise it a little bit more, rather than be so obvious to come in. But
if he can fake going left and go to the right, and then maybe just play the ball across.
Yeah.
But if his right foot is not as strong, he's going to go left every time.
So we'll see what happens with him. Now, we out of the lineup, we had Seth Powder started the first game, came in the last 30 minutes of this game. He's another player that can come into the game and create. He's another player that could potentially start.
Yeah.
So that's, as you mentioned earlier in this broadcast, that the podcast, that he's one of those that the coach has a good core group of starters, and then you've got that group that could be starters, or be the first or second off.
But situation, circumstance, and form will be those decisions. So if you think of the first game, Seth Powder, he starts, and then Destin comes off the bench and scores, and I think LeBron had the other goal, right?
Yeah.
So now Angelo is saying, well, these guys scored. Yeah. So Destin comes in with a hat trick. He's got to start. LeBron scored. You can't punish him for scoring. Right. So that's the way it is at this level. You got to be producing every single time. And so, but the good thing is, whether Seth Powder, LeBron, Destin, or Isai, whether they're coming off the bench or starting, they all have shown that they're bringing quality to this attack. And it's only going to get even better going forward.
Yeah, me personally, I would love to see Seth in the 11 and Brian Destin in the 10. Yeah, let him have a free role to run. He's a dribbler. He's a shooter.
So you would say, Seth is in the 11, the left wing. Isai in the 9, LeBron on the right side in the 7, and Brian Destin playing in the 10.
And then Adelson Belazar will come in for him. Last 60th minute, 7, depending on what happens.
That could be interesting. That could be interesting.
That's just again. We're looking from hindsight. We're looking from our eyes, but I think coach has done an excellent job of managing. These are good players. Yeah. I'm sure there's some disappointed players that want to play.
Always.
That's football.
If you are a high level player and you're not in the lineup, you should never be okay with it. You should understand or respect the coach's decision, but you don't have to agree with the coach's decision. You respect it. But if you feel that you've worked and you put it in there and you deserve to start, then I understand if you're upset. You know what I'm saying? And a player who's not upset, that would worry me. Yeah. Because you want to be on that field. You want to be in that lineup, that not just happy to be in the 18. You want to be in the lineup, and you want to contribute, and you want to represent. Yeah. So I'm sure there are players that are upset. I'm sure there are players disappointed, but it's like that in every single league. The key is, when you get your chance, then what are you going to do? Yeah. So now, if you're going to get your 30 minutes, you coming off the bench, can you now prove that you deserve it? Brian Destin showed that he may have been upset because he didn't start the first game, but he came off the bench and made a statement. So anyone who may be upset, you should be upset because this is the national team and you're good enough.
Right.
You're good enough to play. You're good enough to be here. But don't just be upset and pout and don't bring anything.
Yeah.
You now have to come and show why you deserve to play.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the things I saw that in the friendly matches, the preliminary matches before these games. I know Darryl Jr. didn't start those 2 games.
Yeah,
but he had to apparently
keep working.
He had to work, do something that allowed the coach to see something to give him the start in the game, and then it goes to a second start. But you're 100% right. It's when you get the opportunity, when you get the moment, what are you doing with that moment? Some players started in that first 2 or 3 games. You've given the coach a picture of you, you know what I mean? And he has a small window, he can't really labor with you and say, oh, I believe in you and hope you get it done.
But if I'm not seeing it,
I got to make decisions. And these decisions are split decisions because at the end of the day, he's going to be judged on putting the best product on the field.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, that's where it is. So it's a very good point of and you've done it. You played as a player.
Yeah.
You played at this level for the national team. You played pro. So you know what it is to sometimes not be on the preferred list of a coach, but it does not mean you're not good.
Exactly.
It just means that you got to be patient, wait your moment, and seize your moment when it comes.
That's it. So this squad, to me, they're feisty. They're fighting. And again, we knew that these games were going to be, not as strong, but of course we didn't want to take these teams for granted, so it was good to get this group out here, see what combinations that's being made. And they're getting the job done. So right now, 2 wins, 0 losses, sitting on top of the group right now because of the results in the other games.
Yeah. So we have the Cayman Islands played against Puerto Rico and they had a 1-1 draw. Now, Puerto Rico was actually losing 1-0. And then that's when they gave up Cayman Islands gave up the goal. Puerto Rico scored in the second half, ties the game. And so they both had the 1 point.
So Puerto Rico beat St. Kitts 5-0 and then now was losing to Cayman Islands and then got a late equalizer, tied 1-1.
Yeah.
So now we're sitting on top of the group with 2 wins and our destiny is in our own hands.
Yeah. So does the coach change the lineup or does he go with what's been working?
I would go with what's been working. I would solidify the win and then make changes as we need. Because there is no next round. The next round is in June.
Yeah, June or July.
Yeah. So it's not like we got to save players for the quarterfinal, on Thursday or Friday.
Right.
So you need to put your best players out here and let's solidify this win. So we're up, if we could get up 3-0, then 3-0, 4-0, then you can make those changes in the 60th minute, but I would go with the same lineups. If you need to change here or there, that's fine, but I would keep the same core group because we're getting it done.
Yeah, I think that the one of the main things for me is just seeing that this Haitian squad, how is it that we have Haitian fans everywhere, wherever Haiti plays?
Oh, because we're global. We're global.
It is amazing seeing that the support that the players had, and when we score the goals, you can hear
there's a big Haitian delegation in St. Kitts. When we were there with the women's team, that the U20s that qualified for their World Cup, same thing. Great atmosphere. They're coming with their flags. They're coming with their music, and it's just great to play. And it's always a pleasure to play for the Haitian fans all over the world. They love their national teams, and so that's why it's really, really good that this team so far has not disappointed. They've gotten the job done. We're up 2-0. One more solidifies us a place into the final round. So let's take one last look at the last match of this round is against Puerto Rico. We just said that we think that perhaps maybe he should stay with the same lineup. What do you anticipate that Coach Angelo is going to do? And what do you think we can expect from Puerto Rico since it's a must-win game for them?
Yeah, I think that Puerto Rico is going to be worried about us, number one. They see that we had 2 comfortable wins. They had 1 comfortable win, and then they struggled with Cayman Islands.
Yeah,
I'm sure if they look back at the footage in the video, there was no struggle with Haiti and Cayman Islands.
Right.
If anything, it could have been double digits if we finished chances and stuff like that. So, and that's whether you have the starters or substitutes in that, it was just not even close. But for some reason, Puerto Rico, Cayman Islands was a close game. So I think that Puerto Rico is going to be worried about our attack. They're going to depth. So I think they're probably going to sit in the mid or low block and at least try to weather the storm, which is what they don't want to do, because if you sit in a low block, our press is going to be even worse because we're really good. These guys are aggressive. These guys sprint. They work their butt off in that press. Angelo's got them working. So if they sit back in too deep, you're just getting us closer to the goal. And we're going to force mistakes. Yeah. And now it's just, can we be clinical and punish those mistakes? Which we've done so far in this tournament. Yeah. I don't think that Puerto Rico is, I think that we need to be worried about fouls at the top of the box. We need to be worried about fouls, set pieces, corner kicks, because again, we have not been tested. So at this late stage, I don't want us to now all of a sudden to see, can we or can we not defend corners? Right. Can we not defend set pieces? Now is not the time. So we have to be mindful of giving away fouls and free kicks around the top of our box and giving them that type of goal. I believe that in the regular run of the game, that we're going to be all over them, pressing them, score 2 or 3 goals early on, and then Puerto Rico is going to fold.
Well, I got a question for you. So should we, given what happened to the women's team, should we be worried about Puerto Rico? Because that was a game that we on paper
22 shots,
22 shots, and only 2 on no goals, no goals scored. So is do you think Coach Angelo may be concerned about that, worried about karma or lightning striking twice?
Yeah, I don't think they. I mean, I think it's noted. The whole team was together watching the women play during that time frame. So I think it's noted that Puerto Rico has something that you can't sleep on Puerto Rico. Yeah. But I think if you that's. I want to say it this way: it's apples and oranges. Here you're looking at the stats, you're looking at the game. 5-0 versus St. Kitts. We gave 4-0, and it could have been more. Yeah. 1-0 against you in Cayman Islands. 4-0 against 4-1 against us in Cayman Islands. Could have been more. So I think if I'm Angelo, I'm licking my chops and I'm ready. I'm thinking, we got these guys. Yeah. That doesn't mean go in overconfident. It doesn't mean go in and just change your lineup now and go with other players and give guys a chance to play because it's an easy win for us. No. It means we got these guys right where we want them. They're the vulnerable ones. They're the nervous ones. They have more to lose than we do. We just go in there and just solidify this thing in the first half. Yeah, that would be my speech to the players: is win this game in the first half, and then the second half we can enjoy it and let the other.
If I'm Coach Angelo, I'm using the women's game as motivation. I'm using the women's game. If I'm Coach Angelo, I'm saying, look. Just like you said, the women's team was supposed to win that final match. And it didn't go their way because we did not execute. You guys, that can't be your story. Yeah. That cannot be your story. Learn from that. Learn from that we have to be clinical. Don't sit here and say, we got it. Oh, don't worry. We'll get them in the second half. No, you have to learn from that and get out there. So we need to definitely get after them, put this game away in the first half. And then the second half, we can coast a little bit and make changes.
We definitely have to close these guys out early because again, Puerto Rico, they have players that play high level, different levels and stuff. So they're not a slouch of a team. But again, I'm looking at I haven't watched their match, so I'm wondering what was the struggle against Cayman Islands? Yeah. Because if you gave St. Kitts 5 and then you're losing to Cayman and you barely made it back in second half. So something happened. What's lacking? Are they weak defensively? Are they weak offensively? Either way, I'm tasting blood. Either way, I sense that, wait a minute, they're not ready for us. They're not ready for us. And so we have to, don't disappoint them. You're not ready? Good. Because we're coming and we're going to run over you. I think that Angelo's got to just push the envelope. Y'all want to sit back? Then we're going to press you in your box. If you're going to just come press high, we're going to get that space in behind. But we have to go after
and lastly, I would say that we need to use this last game to be the final match to send the message to the rest of the region, that Haiti is coming. Yeah. That we were one of the most dominant teams in this preliminary round. And so this should be a performance that sends messages because you know there's scouts here. You know that the U.S. scouts are here, the Canadian scouts, Mexican scouts. They're all watching these games and taking notes. So, you know, I would send the message that, yeah, you got a lot to worry about from this Haitian team, that we're not coming to play any games. We're coming to really make an impact.
Yeah.
So the next game is we're looking is tomorrow at 6 p.m. or 3
p.m.
3 p.m. is the final match in this group stage against Puerto Rico. And it should be an exciting finale to end this group. I think the boys are geared up and ready to roll. I think Coach Angelo Jean-Baptiste is going to have the guys ready and focused on what needs to be done. I think we're going to be in for some goals this game. I think.
What are you feeling a little risky to take a get a guess on what do you think the score is going to be? What's your prediction? Or you don't want to go?
I'm not even. I mean, I think it's going to be another 4. I think it's going to be another 4. Another 4-0.
Or at least 4.
I think it's going to be at least 4-0.
I'm thinking at least 3. You know, I'm saying 3 in the first half, and then
I think it's going to be at least 4-0. At least. I think, you know, looking at Coach Angelo Jean-Baptiste, his makeup, he's very intense, and he's not going to take his foot off the gas. You know, so I think the guys are going to come out ready to play.
And he's also seems like the type, if you're on the field and you're not doing it,
he's going to make
the changes and prepare the guys. Don't go in here and do what he did. You know,
exactly.
So I agree with you. He's definitely going to push the envelope, keep his foot on the gas, and keep it going.
And I think they're going to come out strong and ready to play. And I hope so. We want to have a nice, entertaining match for this last match and have something to remember. You know, because it was disappointing. You know, unfortunate that the U17s didn't advance. You know, they made it to the semifinals, but we were hoping that they were going to make history, and that was unfortunate. The women, we was hoping they were going to make history to go into the final round of the Gold Cup, the first Gold Cup. And so this would give us a little bit of joy, a little bit of rest of knowing that we've dominated this group and that we will stay here until what's happening this summer. So what we have coming up this summer is the men's dealing with the World Cup qualifiers is coming in June as well. And so this is going to be a good break for us, but we got to finish with this last win. So if we get this win tomorrow against Puerto Rico, we can breathe and rest until it's time for the World Cup qualifiers for the men. And then we come back for the final stages for this U20 qualifier for the U20 World Cup. So 3 o'clock on tomorrow. We want to see all of you guys back for the recap as we discuss, and hopefully we've got the 3 points and we finish the top of the group with 9 points of this win. So good luck to the boys. Good luck to Coach Angelo Jean-Baptiste and the entire team. Bon chance. And we'll see you on tomorrow. Grenadier à l'assaut. We'll see you later.